it's a new year. It's a new opportunity for another lame podcast. And over the Christmas break, I watched so many Christmas movies. Too many, in fact. But you know what? I didn't even scratch the surface. How could you? You go on Netflix, and there's like 643 different Christmas movies. There's literally a Christmas movie for every day of the week. But there's no way to watch them all in 1 month. You can't. So I'm suggesting every week, I think we should review a new Christmas movie. And that should give us fodder for at least the next 6 years, I think.
Suicide Pact after that?
In 6 years' time?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I'm in.
Suicide Pact. John, Suicide Pact.
God, this idea sounds terrible.
Karen, Suicide Pact.
Sure.
This is going to be the best Christmas ever.
Yeah, come and take a look at the snow. Bright white as far as your eyesight goes. Come and take a look at the fields of snow. I'll just get my coat, then we're good to go. Come and take a look at the lake. Let's have a quick skate before it gets late. Come and take a look at the frozen lake. Put your clothes on, mate, don't make that mistake. Happy Christmas.
Greetings, holiday shoppers. It's 333 days until Christmas, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of Christmas Creeps, a holiday podcast about holiday movies. Hi, my name is Joe. I'm going to be your host this evening. Here with me tonight are my two co-hosts from our old endeavor, John.
Yo, what's up?
And Karen.
Hi, another Christmas podcast?
There's bound to be one somewhere.
Oh,
we
okay.
haven't done any research because the best way to do anything is to just jump headfirst into it and find out later.
That's a good idea. That's what I do with everything.
That's my philosophy for life.
Research is for school, and I stopped going there for a reason.
Yeah, studying's for nerds. It really is. We decided that it was time for a Christmas podcast because I don't know about John or Karen or our listeners at home. I love Christmas movies. I watched way too many of them this past Christmas season, and I want to keep that mojo going. I want to keep the good times rolling, the good vibes flowing. I can't rhyme any more things, so I'm just going to say I like Christmas movies, and that's why I want to talk about Christmas movies all year long.
You're never going to win a rap battle with that kind of flow.
This sounds like a terrible idea, so I'm like 100% behind it.
Oh, yeah, John's all in.
I have seen about 2.5 Christmas movies ever in my life, so I'm all in because I need some culture.
Karen's all in because she needs some pizzazz to her life.
Piss
Yes.
ass.
Piss ass, that's right. So tonight, we are starting with the Christmas movie to end all Christmas movies.
We're trying to start with a bang. I think we're started with a wet fart, but
I don't know. Christmas with the Kranks has a lot of bang to it, and it's the shitty kind of bang. It's the kind of bang that makes me want to swear off this whole podcast right now, because good God, Christmas with the Kranks is just, I don't know what.
wrong.
Christmas with the Kranks made me really cranky.
Yes, it did. It made me
Thanks,
so
Michelle.
cranky.
Yeah, so what thing about Christmas movies is they have to have a message behind them, and the message is always like, what is the meaning of Christmas is always the message. And it's like, is this Kirk Cameron in this? Because I think we can guess what the message is behind that. No. Or is it one of those movies where the message is some vague, nebulous sense of like, well, we have to be together because it's Christmas and we're family. Like, that's kind of what Home Alone's message was,
Yeah, or the message of,
Jingle All the Way, where it's if you don't buy your kid this toy, you're a bad father. Is that what that movie was about?
literally, yes, that's exactly what that was about.
I'm sure we'll find out at some point.
Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, these are all movies for
But-
a later date.
Christmas with the Kranks is sort of it embodies so much of what I don't like about Christmas movies. And even though I just said I love Christmas movies, this is kind of the worst way to start, because Christmas with the Kranks is all about two people who decide they want to skip Christmas. I mean, it's based on a John Grisham book called Skipping Christmas.
And I was really surprised by that when we were watching it. I was like, how is this a goddamn John Grisham novel?
I guess he just got tired of the courtroom dramas and the political thrills. He doesn't write political thrills. He writes courtroom dramas.
So he
He
decided...
got tired of making literally wheelbarrows full of money per second.
Right, so he just decided to fucking, get really drunk and write a super wacky story.
But it's wacky, and it's trying to be like slapstick and madcap, but just more comes off as kind of just like mean-spirited and weird, though.
It's shrill and very mean-spirited and not at all that funny.
It was really weird. I think that's the best best thing to say about it.
So let's take a step back here. What exactly is Christmas with the Kranks about?
First off, I just want to say a lot of people involved with this movie should have really known better. Especially one guy should have known a lot better than to make this movie. That guy is named Chris Columbus, who wrote the screenplay for this movie. And some of you might be going, I know that name, and not just because he's the guy on the boat. And yeah, you do know that name because he has been involved in basically every movie ever made since 1990.
Yeah, Chris Columbus is the reason that your childhood Christmas is what it is, because he wrote Gremlins, he directed Home Alone, he directed Home Alone 2. If you're young enough, he directed 2 Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
And he's been like a producer on Jingle All the Way. So I mean, both the good and the bad side of shitty Christmas movies, he's been there.
Yeah, he's as much as Jesus is the reason for the season, if you want to get down to it, Chris Columbus is the reason the season is the way the season is.
His real name is Christ Columbus.
Christ Columbus, yeah.
Yes.
I have some bad news. Apparently they're making a Gremlins reboot.
I've heard that. And I've heard that Joe Dante's not that pleased with it, because apparently at some point he was involved, and then now he's not involved.
Joe Dante didn't want to make Gremlins 2. What the hell are you trying to get involved in the remake for?
He didn't want to make Gremlins 2, but then he did make Gremlins 2, and because he didn't want to make Gremlins 2, Gremlins 2 is way better than Gremlins. So why wouldn't you put him in charge of Gremlins 3?
So
I don't know. Getting Joe Dante involved in Gremlins 3 is a good move if you want to make a good movie, but if you want to make a movie that makes money, you don't want Joe Dante anywhere near it.
Yeah, they've learned that enough, I think. He's kind of out of the game at this point.
So
This is a podcast about Gremlins.
This is the Gremlins cast. My name is Joe Peltzer.
Joe Pesci.
We'll get to him soon enough.
Okay. I can't wait.
He's around the corner.
He's right there.
So Christmas with the Kranks. John, why don't you run us through the basic plot of this movie?
Okay, so we start with Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis as the most insufferable couple ever, Harold and I don't give a shit Crank.
Harold and Maude Crank.
That was Luther. That's right.
You got them both wrong, and I can't believe you got them both wrong because they say their names 600 times a piece in this goddamn movie.
Luther Crank and I don't give a shit Crank.
Nora.
Okay,
her name's Nora.
Crank. And you know because half of Dan Aykroyd's lines in the movie are screaming her name as she's running away from him.
That sounds,
Outlander, we have your Frosty.
That sounds nasty. But basically, I think that the movie is really the lives of Tim the Toolman Taylor and his wife Jill after going into witness protection. And
Jamie Lee Curtis is trying her
Chicago.
best to look like Patricia Richardson.
Yeah, she really is.
Oh, yeah.
She looks just
She's
fucking
the
like her in this
spitting
movie.
image.
It's
All right.
awful.
So we start with them at the airport saying a tearful goodbye to their daughter who is going to Peru for a year in the Peace Corps.
And what day is it?
This is the day after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
They say this in particular. It is
Remember
the
this
day
later.
after Thanksgiving.
It is important.
So then they stop somewhere, and he has to get some bullshit for Christmas, like some white chocolate and some pistachios or something. And that's when all of the zany madcap, he got doused with water, starts, because he gets drenched like 3 separate times, and there's a Santa trying to sell him umbrellas.
Because the whole joke of the scene is, hey, he forgot an umbrella.
Yes.
Also, he and his wife are fucking babies and fight over who has to go into the store.
I don't know
when it's
why these
raining
people are
outside.
together. They spend more time arguing than not arguing.
Like, right off the bat, we don't like these people.
No.
And even when they hatch their awful scheme to like, escape Christmas, I still don't like them. But then when they become sort of... They almost become, like, martyrs in their own story because, like, everyone hates them for, like, wanting to skip Christmas.
It's not that they're right. They're just less wrong than everyone else.
And Tim Allen is, like, the biggest asshole, and Jamie Lee Curtis looks... She just acts like a child. Like, she's super whiny and scared of everything. It is bizarre.
Yeah, so he gets drenched for the 3rd time, and then he sees an ad for a cruise, and he's like, maybe we should do that instead of having another shitty Christmas. Then he goes to his job, and because he is a white guy in, like, the early 2000s, he works at one of those vague jobs where it's just like, I sit at a desk and push buttons and get paid 6 figures.
I think he's an accountant, but that's just because the only thing he does at work is type on a calculator.
Apparently his 10-key speed is really good. That's all.
So he figures out that they spent like...
It was like $6,000. They spent $6,000 on Christmas gifts and decorations and whatnot last Christmas. So he decides, what if we just take that money and put it toward a cruise for ourselves because our daughter's not going to be here for Christmas.
Yeah, and then
Not the worst idea in the world.
like,
that's reasonable.
Yeah, and he decides instead of just saying, hey, we should go on a cruise, he should play charades with her, which apparently she decides this means we're gonna fuck, because apparently they don't do that very often from the way she acts.
Okay, but I have to say, first of all, Jamie Lee Curtis downs like 2 fucking glasses of wine, like they're shots, and then she has these weird like looks on her face. She looks like she's super gassy like the whole time, so that just made it really weird.
I mean, she comes across as this person who is extremely uptight because she's apparently like only had sex once in her life, and that was to make her daughter.
Exactly.
She's like trying to be Kirstie Alley as much as she can.
Oh my gosh. Oh, and he's like dancing into the dining room wearing like a Hawaiian shirt.
It's not Hawaiian, it's Paisley.
He's wearing a Paisley shirt. It's not even Hawaiian.
Okay, it's a Paisley shirt, but then like he's like dancing to this really weird fake calypso music.
Yeah.
And she takes this as a sign of like, oh, we're gonna have like weird sex tonight.
Right. She's wearing like a vest over a turtleneck, and she unbuttons like the top button of her vest, like that means anything.
He like starts taking her pants off to the point where he's like, "Put your pants back on."
He's like, "What are you doing?" And in probably the most honest moment of the whole movie, he completely destroys the sexual tension by showing her a bunch of numbers.
Yeah.
The point he gets to is that they spent like $6,000 on Christmas last year, and if they go on a cruise, the cruise only costs $3,000. So, but then he goes farther and saying, instead of just saying, yeah, we'll go on a cruise instead of having a big stupid party and putting up all these decorations, he like goes like total like, we're boycotting Christmas. He literally uses those words. He's like, we're not donating to anyone anything ever.
Yeah, he wants to go all scorched earth, and he's like, fuck Christmas. It doesn't exist.
And like, she eventually like guilts him into giving money to like the church and to like some homeless shelter, and that's
and he even says like not a penny more than we did last year.
Right, that's literally like a fucking Ebenezer Scrooge quote.
When he announces to her that their cruise will only cost $3,000, dude, if you already have like $6,000 like ready to spend for Christmas, you have $3,000 more that you can give away to charity.
Those fucking charities will be like
you're trying to save money, but
over a hill.
You can still give like $1,000 to each charity and still have $1,000 in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so at this point he's just being an asshole.
Yeah. So then the next day he goes to work and he's like, "Dear work, I'm not celebrating Christmas. Fuck you. Signed, Tim Taylor."
And he prints it on company letterhead and personally hands it out to everybody in his company.
Including the mailman who looks like a Final Fantasy character.
The mailman who is like this, like late 90s sort of stereotype of like the young cool guy who has like the goggles on and like the sweater vest and probably rollerblades. I don't know.
Sweater vest?
It's the kind of guy whose name ends with Z or X. He's like a Max or a Chaz or something.
Oh yeah. His name is Zero. Come on.
His name's Zax.
Zax.
Yes.
But okay, so this scene, what this scene reminded me of? It reminded me of the scene in the Festivus episode of Seinfeld where George hands out cards to his coworkers saying that he donated money to the Human Fund.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to give away Christmas presents.
Oh my god.
The worst thing I've ever heard is that people like doing real life Festivus,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know what that means. Like if that just means that you put an aluminum pole in the corner as a joke and like, it's Festivus, get it, and that's the end of it. That's good. But do people like really try to actually like do the things from Festivus?
I hope
anybody's ever done that.
I hope that somebody gets injured doing feats of strength. Like right before Christmas.
I hope somebody like insisted on like challenging their like 70-year-old dad to a feat of strength.
Specifically, like I'm going to go wrestle Jerry Stiller.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Though my favorite detail of Festivus is that Festivus is not over until the feat of strength is completed. Because you say Frank Costanza says like we'll end it here tonight, but we're picking it back up tomorrow.
Well, I mean, but the feat of strength could be anything. It could just be like a really fucking like raunchy fart.
Oh yeah,
somebody's done with that. It's like, all right, I'm done.
It could be like a hardcore game of shuffleboard. You don't know.
Ben Stiller tries to like stop Jerry Stiller from celebrating Festivus. He would just like break him over Jerry would break him over his fucking knee like Batman and Bane.
Oh yeah.
Christ,
Jerry will outlive us all.
Probably.
He will.
He is a hardy old man.
Mm-hmm. But he's not in this movie.
No.
Of all the people on Seinfeld that you would think would be in a movie like this, it would be Jerry Stiller. But he's not. Every other like sitcom like side character in the world is in this movie, but
so
not
we
Jerry
have,
Stiller.
Tim Allen, Jamie Lee Curtis, fucking Dan Aykroyd's in it.
Dan Aykroyd,
Dewey's in it.
Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle's in it.
Felicity Huffman's in it for a minute, being like super busybody.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that Dewey is the only good thing about the movie because there's nothing good about this movie. Dewey is the least bad thing about this movie, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes almost close to being a good thing, but then even then the script makes him fuck it up.
Who else is in the
Right.
movie? Andy Daly and Matt Walsh are in their movie getting paychecks.
Yeah, like so you get your mid 2000s comedians sort of like popping in for a second and like making
Oh,
a
and
half-assed comment and then jumping back out.
and Cheech Marin.
Cheech is in it, yeah.
He plays a cop.
Yeah, he plays a cop, while at the time, I think, in real life, Tommy Chong was literally in jail.
Yeah, 2004, I think Tommy Chong was in jail.
He needed a guy on the outside.
And
Or on the inside.
Jake Busey was in it, just Jake Busey. Jake Buseying it up.
Looking like a slightly less fucked up Gary Busey.
Here's the question. Has anyone seen Jake Busey since this movie?
I don't know.
He was in Contact, and he was in this, and then I think the aliens from Contact abducted him.
He was in Starship Troopers.
Gary Busey might have eaten him. Have you seen the mouth on that guy?
Okay, so wait. So Contact had aliens. Starship Troopers had aliens. Who was the alien in Christmas with the Cranks?
Everybody. Because everybody treats Christmas
Santa.
like a fucking cult. Like, everyone acts like a cult member.
So let's
in
get
this
back
movie.
to the movie instead.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next day after they well, first off, Tim Allen kind of said, we're not celebrating Christmas because we're better than you, sheeple.
Yeah, he's like super smug and like fucking like internet tough guy about it.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just said, hey, we're going to be gone for Christmas. You guys don't have to get us anything. Bye. And that would be the end of it,
And, yeah. And then the next day, the fucking, like, pity party starts. All the neighbors come around and act all shocked and surprised. Like, oh, you guys aren't going to do Christmas this
Dan
year?
Aykroyd's character,
Right.
is it Vic Frohmeyer or Abe Frohmeyer?
Vic from our...
Abe Frohmeyer, the sausage king of Chicago.
Yeah, you're thinking of Abe Frohman.
Yeah, anyway, Dan Aykroyd comes up and he's just like, well, you guys aren't decorating for Christmas, but we always do the big Christmas competition. Like there's like a citywide. They're in Chicago. There's like a citywide neighborhood,
A citywide
neighborhood.
ordinance that everybody has to have a giant 7-foot snowman on their lawn.
No, there's like both a like we're gonna put up the lights and try to win best neighborhood, and also some kind of fucking Frosty contest where they all literally put the exact same statue of Frosty up on their roof.
In the exact same place on their house,
'Cause
and their houses
each of
all look
them,
exactly the same.
They all
Yes.
have. It's fucking tiny boxes.
It's a neighborhood of Griswolds,
This is the worst homeowners association ever.
It really is.
but it's not because I mean it's just. He's not like, well, the homeowners, well, like, it's in the HOA got bylaws. It's just, he's just like, well, you got to. It's Christmas.
Yeah.
So
Just take a deep breath, everybody.
So then Sabrina, the Teenage Witch's aunt, and Felicity H. Muffin are
yes.
what is her actual name?
Felicity Huffman.
Yes.
Okay.
It's Philium H. Muffman.
Okay, yes. Okay, so Felicity Huffman and is that Carolyn Ray or is it the other one?
It's Caroline Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are like browbeating. I don't give a shit. Craig.
Patricia Richardson.
They're browbeating Mrs. Craig into being like, well, you got to decorate for Christmas because it's Christmas and Christmas also because Christmas.
And Christmas is Christmas, so you have to
And-
Christmas because
and-
Christmas can't be Christmas without Christmas.
And then
And you guys have a party every year, and you're not going to have a party. What are we going to do? We are not independent.
So, okay, this is the first we're hearing of the fact that the Kranks do a big neighborhood-wide Christmas party every year.
Yeah.
So they're just adding on complications to a problem that doesn't really have to be a problem.
And like everyone in the town is coming out of the woodwork to like the guy apparently there's a printer who makes her special Christmas cards. She must spend like $1,000 on Christmas cards every year because the guy's just like, you're not getting Christmas cards this year. You get the special personally engraved cards every year.
And then
He
he
sees her out
follows
the
her.
window, runs out of the store, accosts her in the middle of the street, and then follows her to a restaurant.
and then the Boy Scouts come by and like one of them has teeth big enough to drive a fucking motorcycle through. But they're just like, you're not going to buy a $90 Christmas tree? It's like, no, I'm not.
But we brought it specially for you. Like, this is the one you bought last year.
Well,
and
you know what
already
happens when
is-
you assume, don't you?
Yeah, you make
And-
an ass out of you.
And the tree is like half dead. The whole bottom of it is just complete like fucking sticks. I mean, that thing's going to catch fire if you look at it wrong.
And you know what I kind of think? I kind of think that tree is the same tree that we see at the end of the movie.
That's kind of what I was assuming too. Yeah, he just let it sit on the lot until it just completely died and stripped off all the needles and then just gave it back to him.
Yeah,
for
so at the end of the movie when he
$75.
tries to go back and buy the actual tree, because we'll come back
We'll
to
get
this.
there, yeah.
What's the guy across the street named Emmett Walsh?
M, as in like the letter M, Emmett Walsh.
He comes over and he's just like the biggest like old grumpy asshole imaginable. Like,
Yeah, apparently his fucking cat likes to sleep on the Kranks driveway and is too stupid to get out of the way when someone walks, and so his tail gets stepped on every day.
yeah,
Which-
Tim Allen does step on the cat's tail every single day.
Yeah.
Which I can't imagine a sane human being wrote that scene, because anyone who's ever had a cat knows, like, no cat is dumb enough to like let you step on it.
Also, I would just like to posit that this is a fucking white Persian cat. Nobody is letting that thing be an outdoor cat. That thing is going to be fucking full of fucking leaves and just dirt and
Yeah, and they have the
oil
cat
and
inside
grime
later
in 2
again. So I mean,
seconds.
it's not a exclusively outside cat. They have
Right.
she is holding a cat indoors later, and the cat is still like.
That's going to be a nasty ass cat after it's been outside.
So then, what else happens? Then Vic Frohmeyer has like 7 kids, one of which is Dewey. The rest of which are not worth noting at all.
Abe
He has-
Froman has a number of kids
he has-
because he's the sausage king of Chicago.
Jesus.
He has 7 kids, and they're all in the Boy Scouts, and they all like have to.
Well,
They're all like part of his personal little like goon squad.
Yeah,
they
he
all-
has like a troop.
like they're all standing on Tim Allen's lawn for most of the movie, going free Frosty, which they're I kind of get the idea that they're doing it just to be jackasses because their dad's like they're
Yeah.
being annoying because their dad is letting them be annoying for once.
And
kind
one of them is Dewey.
one of them is Dewey. The only
Yeah.
one worth noting is Dewey, and it was actually Eric Pursullivan, if we want to actually say the actor's name, but no,
Yeah.
he's Dewey.
It's Dewey.
His character's name is Spike in this movie. Spike Frohmeyer.
Spike.
Yeah.
Spike Frohmeyer?
Of all the kids, of all the people in the world that you would think would be named Spike, that's not one of them.
No.
It's just not.
If-
His name is
Is
Dewey.
he the sausage prince?
Sausage Prince.
I don't
No,
think I'd want a
I think
name like
the
Spike
oldest
if I were
brother,
the sausage prince.
the brother who looks like Dana Carvey 20 years ago. Luther, is that his name?
No,
That's the
Luther.
sausage-
Luther is the crank.
Okay, well, what's the oldest kid's name? Whatever. That's the Sausage Prince.
Yeah, that's true. He's next in line for the throne.
Oh, he's next in
Sausage
in
throne.
succession.
The sausage throne.
I'm just imagining like the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, except made out of like kielbases.
it's just a throne made of wieners.
Yes.
So then they're literally like standing on their lawn threatening them, like, bring us Frosty and nobody gets hurt. I'm Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, he's standing 3 feet from the door and just shouting.
And this is like Dan Aykroyd after he's been going downhill for a while, so he's like pretty chubby.
He's
and-
like 3 bottles deep into his vodka.
yeah. His hair is like his fucking hairline is receding more and more.
Yeah, he only agreed to this movie because someone had said Christmas Spirit. He's like, Spirit, I'm in.
And what are the Kranks doing? They're literally like hiding under a table
In their own goddamn
in their
house.
own house
Yeah.
because people are shouting "Free Frosty" at their front door.
And
And you're
then,
saying to yourself, why didn't they just call the police and have these people arrested for trespassing?
And then you
Well-
realize
because they piss off the police, who are Cheech and Jake Busey, because they come by like, hey, you guys gonna buy another calendar?
yeah,
like a
the
fucking
annual
like sexy police calendar.
the annual like sexy police calendar. No, we're not going to buy one of those this
That's
year.
like 3 pages of Jake Busey and 9 pages of Cheech, because those are the
Yeah.
only two
I mean,
cops in
let's
Chicago.
be honest.
Yeah. May is like prime Cheech Marin asshole. It's
Oh.
just,
It is the worst. I wish I had never seen it.
that's why you go on vacation in May. But so once again, they have to be assholes to people, basically asking for charity.
I mean, here's what
And-
I would do at this point. Like, it would just be like, okay, we're going on cruise. You guys want to decorate our house for us? There's our house. Go ahead.
But
Yeah.
they're not just being assholes to people asking for shit. Those people are being assholes back.
Yeah,
so it's
not
like
a case
fucking
of who's
like
right. It's a case of who's
it's a
least
fucking
wrong.
asshole Ouroboros. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't end.
Tim Allen is least wrong, but not by that much.
Yeah,
Sure, he's being an asshole because he's like doing a full stop boycott on Christmas. But everyone else is being an asshole back because how dare you?
right. Like it's their goddamn business.
Like it's my right to make you pay $20 to buy a shitty calendar from me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, then what happens next in this shit ass movie? So,
Oh, okay. So they put themselves basically. They make themselves like not martyrs, but like pariahs of the whole neighborhood, the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
and
town.
the carolers show up.
There's a
No, not yet.
there's a fatwa on the
not yet.
Kranks.
Yeah. So everyone fucking hates them. They have basically sunk to absolutely the lowest point they can possibly sink. All they have to do is just like hide from the neighborhood for another day or two, and they can go on their fucking beautiful Christmas cruise where there will probably be Christmas decorations.
Yeah, that's the other fucking thing. It's like, yeah, you're
But-
talking about going and boycotting Christmas, there's gonna be Christmas all over that cruise ship.
Yeah.
It's a fucking Carnival cruise line.
And they almost get away scot-free. And they can stop
Almost.
being assholes. And then their daughter calls from Peru and says, guess what? I'm coming home for Christmas.
You guys haven't seen me in so long because remember how I left on the day after Thanksgiving? It's like December 15th now. You
Right.
know, like 3 weeks later at the most.
It's literally been 3 weeks, and you guys haven't seen
Yeah.
me in fucking forever.
Yeah, also-
And
no-
then she's like, also, guess what, you guys? I'm totally in love with this guy that I've known for about 2 minutes, and we are
well,
engaged.
no, she says it's the guy she went to college with, and
Okay, well,
Yeah.
she went to college with him, but he's apparently never had an American Christmas. 'Cause
yeah, like
he's
she
just
went to Brown because she's white like that.
right.
And he was an exchange student there, and they met there. But he's like, oh, I've never had the American Christmas or some shit. And
And if you go to Wikipedia and look at Christmas around the world, everybody does Christmas different, but it's all kind of the same dumb bullshit.
Yeah, and also his name's Enrique, and apparently Tim Allen just can't grasp a fucking name as simple as Enrique.
Nobody can, apparently.
okay, we need to
No.
back up a little bit because we did miss the carolers. At some
Fuck
point,
the
did.
carolers.
no,
Nobody
it's
cares.
important to note that
It is.
it's important to note that like Emmett Walsh sees it looks like a dog catcher truck full of carolers, all dressed in like Dickensian like finery.
Yeah,
like they're not
the
just like
fucking,
street urchins, but they're just
bonnets and
yeah.
shit.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, okay.
and like they stand on the lawn just singing Jingle Bells as loud and as fast as they can the entire night
And
At their house.
For-
not to them, not for them.
at the house.
well,
at
they
the house.
start like out at the street, and then the fucking cranks are like crawling around on the floor and like hiding behind shit, like they're in a
They're
fucking like
Navy SEAL.
yeah, like
maneuvers,
they're in a fucking war zone. And then they fucking look away from the window and look back, and all of a sudden the carolers are like looking in their window like creepy ass perverts.
Yeah.
And then they run downstairs and hide in their fucking basement with their creepy Frosty snowman
Frosty
that's
is
apparently
staring at them.
possessed.
And so the next day, Tim Allen goes out because the carolers have to sleep eventually. They mostly come out at night, mostly. And he sprays the entire front lawn with the hose and freezes the entire lawn over, which he also manages to maybe kill the neighbor's cat.
Well, I don't think you can kill
mean,
that cat.
Apparently it gets like super cold in Chicago. I've never actually been to Chicago,
It's
but
the
I don't.
Windy City.
But I know it's the Windy City, but I don't think you can flash freeze a cat on site.
Yeah.
Well, the cat's apparently dumb as hell and probably just slept through the entire getting sprayed with water.
Well,
Maybe?
you would think so, except that when you see the cat, when they pan over to it later, it looks like the stuff of my goddamn nightmares.
It is a mechanical frozen cat with like little clicky eyeballs that are like.
Yeah,
back
it was
and
like
forth.
fucking like standing up, like its back is
so
arched,
then-
its fucking
Like
hair
a-
is on end. It
like
is
a Looney
scary
Tunes
looking.
cartoon, and
Yeah.
that's the missing ingredient here is that this movie's trying to be like a Looney Tunes cartoon because it's a
Well-
Chris Columbus movie, and his movies are all cartoons.
And like I said when we were watching it, like really what I think is basically this movie, all the adults in it were just so bizarre and weird and wrong. It's like this movie was written through the eyes of about like a 10-year-old, what they think adults are and do.
yeah,
And,
Yeah, that makes
It's-
there's
so
for the overall
weird.
message that makes sense for like you can't have Christmas without dumb consumer bullshit because that's what a kid thinks.
well,
So-
what is the message of this movie then? Because I don't think we've even scratched like the
So this movie came out in 2004. The message is basically, if you don't conform, we'll get you. Make sure you don't vote for John Kerry, you guys.
basically. Also,
sort of, yeah.
I would like to point out as well that when we got to the part where the daughter called from Peru and said she was coming home, that was not even quite halfway into the movie.
I swear I thought that was the end of the movie.
We had to take a bathroom break because we were all about to like fucking die watching it. It was terrible.
Yeah, and we paused. We said, like, well, this is going to be over in a few minutes. And you click pause, and oh my god, there's 25 minutes left. What are they going to possibly
There was
do?
like over an hour left. It was terrible.
It was the worst.
So yeah, she calls and says she's coming home and everything, and then so this daughter is 23 damn years old, okay? But
Roughly.
She's literally 23. They say this a couple times.
She is a grown ass woman.
She is an adult. But they're like start flipping out like, well, she expects us to have a Christmas party with her favorite ham and blah blah blah. It's like she's an adult. She can get the hell over it. Like,
Also, her favorite ham is a goddamn canned ham.
Yeah.
She has a shitty favorite thing.
it's
I
like
mean-
it's like some brand of like hickory honey ham, and like you think
hickory honey ham, and when she says hickory honey ham, you think, oh, it's like a honey baked ham
Yeah, my
from
first-
the honey baked ham.
my first
store.
thought is she's gonna go get one of those giant like half of a pig's
like a fucking
pig.
like a spiral ham, like a
spiral
cut ham.
like honey glazed, like
delicious
$800 ham. Yeah.
But then they go to the store and it's like the big ass canned hams that David Letterman used to give out.
Just buy her a fucking case of Vienna sausages and it'll be the exact same thing.
I mean, when I was a kid, my favorite thing to have at Christmas time was like a fancy ball of like cheese and crackers, like the very
like
fancy
a cheese ball.
Yeah, like not quite Hickory Farms, but like the more upscale. Like my family would do whatever for Christmas, and I've had
some decent cheese balls.
Like that was my one
Hickory
thing.
Vineyards.
Like, I wanted like a port wine cheese ball.
Yep, those are good.
And some classy like good crackers.
You can get those at Trader Joe's. They're very nice.
And now I realize you can get them year round, and they're not that special.
Yeah,
but that's like my thing for Christmas.
Yeah.
Her thing is a canned ham.
Like, you could do so much better than that.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, like,
is she just like having like super Stockholm syndrome? Like, were her parents like mad lazy when she was a kid, and she just got used to it, and it's like the only thing that comes.
I get it. Like some families, they go through. I mean, sometimes your family goes through phases where you don't have as much money as you do later on.
I think a canned ham costs more than fucking buying some real ass meat and cooking it yourself, though.
But like the canned ham they bought is like a canned ham you buy in case of emergency, in case your house burns down.
It's a canned ham you buy in case the Reds invade.
Right,
yeah,
it's what you put in your fucking bomb shelter.
Exactly. It's not a holiday treat. It's a fucking foodstuff from the 50s.
Although, if you think of this movie in that light now, where it's like fucking preparing for the fucking nukes to go off, then like, it makes a lot more sense. These people are so goddamn jumpy.
Put the noose around the neck now.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get to the noose around the neck later. Don't worry.
Oh, there is so much death in this movie that you don't even really notice it.
Yeah. So
not actual death. Hold on. But like
death of my spirit.
Death of love. The death of Christmas. The death of like decency.
Well, there's also
and then you realize what street they live on. They live on Hemlock Street.
Dear Lord.
Which is like.
Well, and
that's what Socrates drank himself to death with.
There's also, death to come, because apparently the across the street neighbor you learn early on has fucking cancer, and so they just have to throw that in there.
Yeah, that's just like, oh, you're being an asshole to me. Yeah, well, my wife is dying, so there you go.
Right, like
Tim Allen.
All of a sudden, it's like it's the asshole old man's like wife.
It's a pity party.
The people who own the cat, and. Yeah,
it's like on Scrubs whenever the janitor's just like, yeah, it's my son, he's dying, just to like make JD feel like an ass. That's literally what it is.
Yeah, so we're gonna make you feel bad for this super asshole guy,
and the movie's
using his wife.
The movie's not smart enough to set all of these things up in advance. It has to like spring them on you, so it seems like a surprise and to tug at your heartstrings.
Exactly. Yep.
Because this movie is, I think, made for children.
I think this movie's made for the fucking lowest common denominator.
Children.
Yes.
It's made for children, but it's written by John Grisham, which if you view it as written by John Grisham, you can kind of see how like some of like the weird mean-spirited humor comes from, because that's John Grisham.
I guess. And
it's kind of like how that movie I Love You, Beth Cooper was like a dumb teen movie, but the book it was written by one of the Simpsons writers, I think, or producers, and it is one of like the most weird mean-spirited books imaginable.
Beth Cooper Must Die.
It's like one of the things I can remember is that like
that was John Tucker Must Die.
I know.
Is okay. like there it's Hayden Panettiere or whatever from Heroes.
Yeah.
So she's like trying to buy booze. She was like, oh, I'll give you a kiss if you let me buy booze, and that totally was the guy over. In the book, she's like, I'll suck your dick if you let me buy booze.
So, oh my god! So they just fucking changed it.
Yeah.
Was it like a family movie?
Yeah, it got turned into like a wacky like 12-year-old watching.
Yeah, like a PG-13.
I hate that. Ugh. That's gross.
But anyway, and her boyfriend is like she's like 18, and her boyfriend is like some like 24-year-old Marine who
her boyfriend's like an American gladiator
who comes home and like spends he's in the book basically the main character spends the entire book getting his face like broken by the Marine boyfriend.
The main character whose dick she was gonna suck for booze?
No, that was the random dude at the liquor store.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's not
that was kind of the lesson that was trying to teach was like, oh, I guess she's not just so Miss Perfect after all,
Wow. Well, that's a fucking way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, Blair calls and says, "Hey, I'm coming home for Christmas, and if this Christmas is not exactly like every other Christmas, I'm going to like piss and shit myself because I'm a baby apparently and not a 23-year-old grown ass adult.
I'm gonna go back to Peru and I'm never coming out again."
She's like, I'm gonna drown myself in Lake Titicaca.
Right. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna slum it with my fucking boyfriend forever.
So then he decides, Tim Allen decides, well, shit, I guess we have to have Christmas after all. And it has to be literally the exact same as every Christmas. We have to do what everyone wanted to begin with, so whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So guess it's time to conform, you guys.
So he has to go back to all of these people and apologize and make nice.
The first step is he kidnaps Dewey.
The first step is they decide they're not going on the cruise after all, which is like, well, what the fuck? You just fucking called and sprung this on us. You weren't going to be home for a year. We're grown-ass adults. We were going to have our own Christmas.
Tim Allen is just like, well, they're coming home. They can have the house themselves, have a nice romantic weekend. We can take the cruise anyway. And Jamie Lee Curtis is just like, she's coming home from Peru. Like, she's been there for 2.5 weeks.
Her reaction when the fucking daughter calls on the phone and Tim Allen
it's like
says,
it's like
hi,
you
Blair.
think
She's
she
like,
finally.
oh my god, Blair, and she like runs through the house like fucking like
It's
waving
like
her
Blair.
hands
She's
around.
like, you think she's like, Blair's finally been released from Hanoi Hilton.
But it's just that the problem with this movie is that like everybody makes the wrong decision or they say the wrong thing the wrong way,
or that they do it
every
for the
single
wrong
time.
reason.
Because I mean, if they had just started out by saying, "Hey, look, this year for Christmas, our daughter's not here anymore. We're going to take a cruise for once. We're going to see how that works out." If they had just said like, "We're going to try something different," and not like, "We're fucking boycotting Christmas,"
Yeah.
everything would be okay.
You didn't have to be like a goddamn.
He could have just been like, if you guys really need the house decorated, I mean, I'll give you the key, Dan Aykroyd. Go nuts. Frosty's in the basement.
Yeah, really.
Okay, yeah. You just reminded me.
We'll get to the key, give the key later. So, so he tackles Dewey, and Dewey agrees to help him because Dewey's a cool guy.
He literally chases him and fucking throws him over like a lawn reindeer and then like falls on him.
Well, I mean, he's kind of got Dewey dead to rights because like the kid's been calling his house and harassing him and just basically being an asshole.
That doesn't mean you can molest a child.
It's not molestation.
It's not asking
molestation.
For
it's
it.
just assault.
It's just assault.
Anyway, so he they decide they need to first off get Frosty out, and Tim Allen does this himself for some reason. He ties a noose around Frosty's neck because Frosty is like about 8 feet tall.
He's 8 feet tall and apparently like weighs 800 goddamn pounds.
Yeah,
so he has to put him like just on the fucking peak of the roof.
Yeah, right on the like the edge of the roof, like the apex of the roof.
Yeah.
And I noticed this. Every other house in the neighborhood has like a tapered stage for Frosty to sit on.
Yeah,
except his.
I don't know why he didn't have this. Well, you see it once it's up there later. You see it's sitting on a stage.
Once a sane person did it,
right.
Yeah.
So he drags it up the roof by the neck, breaks like half the shingles on the roof, and then he like starts struggling with it. And the neighbors come out and realize, the neighbors don't really say like, "What are you doing?" I thought you gave up on Christmas. They'd see him out there. He's like, "Oh, he's putting up Frosty, good." And
he's pulling him up with a fucking noose around his neck.
So then instead of helping, they're just like, "Oh, be careful up there." And then he drops Frosty. Frosty shatters into like a billion pieces
because Frosty was made of glass, apparently.
Yeah.
It probably actually was made of fiberglass or some bullshit.
Oh, he drops Frosty after Frosty's like eyes start lighting up and like making demon noises and shit.
Like it's like the evil furnace in Home Alone is now Frosty in Christmas with the Kranks.
Yes. But Kevin never threw the furnace into the front lawn.
So then Tim Allen falls off the roof, and somehow the noose gets around his foot, and he's hanging upside down from the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the police and the firemen and everything come.
He's like 3 feet off the ground too. I mean, let's
and
be
everyone
honest.
just comes and just like puts their arms on their hips and just goes, "Huh? Well, what do you like? What do you know about this?"
Emmett Walsh is like, "I called the cops. My wife made me."
Yes.
Yeah, the wife made me do something nice for you.
And then, of course, like, Patricia Richardson comes home and freaks the fuck out.
Yeah, so then they cut him down, and then, like, they're just like, "Oh, I thought you weren't in the Christmas spirit." And he's just like, "Well, Blair's coming home." And they were just like, "Say no more, Blair's coming home. We gotta do Christmas now."
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd, like, he calls the neighborhood to an emergency meeting and explains that Blair's coming home.
Because apparently he's, like, the boss of the neighborhood.
And apparently she's, like, the favorite daughter of the entire community.
I guess. She looks like a Barbie, so maybe.
Yeah, so then they decide.
So he points at a random person and says, "Get your turkey and bring it over here."
Yeah, he told someone else, get spare Frosty. They had a spare Frosty all along. They could have just climbed up on Tim Allen's roof and put up their own Frosty up there.
Also, the person actually offered to bring their turkey, and also they said they had 2 turkeys in the oven right now.
And they left their house to come to this fake meeting.
Yeah, first of all, who the fuck has an oven big enough to fit 2 turkeys in it? And second, why did they leave it there fucking unattended? While they come watch a guy like fall to his death off of a fucking roof.
I don't know. The mind just
boggles. It is the McAllister neighborhood. It's just idle rich white people in Chicago.
It is.
They are bored as shit.
So then
it's the whole movie is like 2 steps removed from John Hughes, isn't it?
Yeah. And so then, like,
John Hughes would have written a good movie, I think, even in 2004, and even in 2004 he was kind of off the rails.
So
at that
then
point.
Jill Taylor Craig has to go to the grocery store to get the fucking ham, and she gets there and there's one ham left, and of course that means it's a Christmas movie. We have to have a scene where two people fight over the last something left.
And she races with an old lady in a shopping cart to get to the last ham, and the old lady like knocks her into another shopping cart and sends her flying through a Pepperidge Farm display.
Right,
Yes.
she goes like head first through the mall.
Because we got product placement.
We gotta have product placement because otherwise
absolutely.
we can't sell
She
this fucking
murders
movie.
those Milanos.
There was so much product placement. I noticed Tim Allen at his desk at one point was eating like Dan and Light and Fit
and drinking
Diet Coke.
And at one
there
point,
was, like, Starbucks.
At one point, Jake Busey is drinking a Starbucks cup, but he's holding the cups just so that you can see the logo and nothing else.
The logo is like right by his thumb.
Like no human holds a Starbucks cup the way he held a
It's Jake
Starbucks
Busey.
cup.
Jake Busey's not even human, so
I know.
I mean, he's a robot built by his evil scientist father, but
Yeah.
that's beside the point.
I want to know how Gary Busey was like lucid long enough to do that. To be honest.
Okay, so then she gets to the front. She sees some random family with a ham, and it's Andy Daly, and she's like, I will pay you any sum of money for this ham. Do you want to put your kid through college? I'll do it right now. And she literally says, like, it's never too early to start saving for your daughter. Like, their kid is like a year and a half old at the most. And they're like, it's never too early to start saving for college.
And she's like giving the creepiest like fucking like big two smile.
She pulls out a check, like how
wink,
many
wink.
How many zeros do I have to do here?
Yeah.
And like so, in the next scene, she like chases after this canned ham because it's in a circular.
It's not even. It's in like a pyramid shaped can with rounded corners, and she somehow drops it in the parking lot and chases it through the parking lot,
and it
and
rolls
somehow
downhill.
It manages to fucking roll without stopping, even though it's like weird and oblong.
And it manages to roll just into traffic just long enough to get squished by a semi truck, and you can just see the look of shame on her face as she just watched a $6,000 ham go.
Yeah, because God knows how much she paid those people for that fucking ham. We never find out, by the way.
Yeah, Andy Daly's like, "Where'd you try to go, Brown? How much does that cost now?" So then she goes back home. She doesn't have a ham. She gets smoked trout instead,
which is better.
Yeah, I've never
better
had
than
smoked
a
trout,
canned
but I
ham.
love smoked
Yeah.
salmon.
It wasn't even I don't think it was even smoked because it looked like it was just full fish.
It looked like raw fish.
It was just raw fish in saran wrap. But she did say it was smoked, whatever.
Yeah,
several
that's
times.
what she called it, but it didn't look like smoked anything.
So then he tries to go back to the Boy Scouts and try to buy a Christmas tree, and they like try to sell him the same like half dead Christmas tree, which is now full dead. And he overpaid. Like they have a sign that says Christmas trees clearance $15, like $75 for this one.
Yeah. And you think like, oh, they're gonna pull some like Charlie Brown Christmas shit here because the tree is just like a twig at this point,
Right?
But even the movie can't even like muster the gumption to even like make a Charlie Brown joke.
Yeah,
because it's just completely broken inside. I don't think this movie has ever seen a Christmas movie.
I don't think it has any fucking heart, and it tries so hard.
Yeah. So then he goes home. He goes to the one guy in the neighborhood who's not white.
Yeah.
And he's like, can I borrow your Christmas tree? Because you guys are going out of town for the week, for, the evening. Can I borrow your tree? And he's just like, if you bring it back, no ornaments destroyed whatsoever. You bring it back perfect. You can have it.
Right.
After my wife leaves, here's my key.
Yeah, he's like keeping it a secret from his wife, who's like packing the car. Like they can't fucking tell her that. First of all, this dude's wanting to borrow his Christmas tree, and then second of all, he's agreeing to it, but he's like, you can't let my wife know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only reason he agrees to it because he's like, you can't borrow my tree. And then Tim Allen's like, but Blair. He's like, oh, well, here's my house key.
Oh,
right.
Because apparently she's
more important than fucking anyone. She's in the Peace Corps.
Isn't the girl from The Extras named Blair?
It
was Reagan. Never mind.
Yeah, it's Reagan.
No, it's Linda Blair. Okay, that's
yeah.
it. Maybe they're just afraid of Pazuzu, and that's why they're being all nice to her.
That's what happened. The fucking daughter's Linda Blair, and she's gonna go ape shit and spew pea soup over everybody.
That'll definitely ruin your Christmas. So he gets Dewey to help him get this Christmas tree, and then the one busybody neighbor is looking through his front window with binoculars and calls up Emmett Walsh maybe, and he's like, I think Mr. Craig's stealing a tree, and so they call the cops, and then they get the tree in Dewey's radio flyer because Dewey has a radio flyer. Why wouldn't he?
Because kids love wagons.
Right. You had to just throw some fucking nostalgia in there for the 50-year-olds.
So while they are getting this tree, Dewey breaks like a dozen ornaments. Dewey's just like, whatever. It just says baby's first Christmas. Who cares?
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah. Fuck that baby.
So then they drop the tree in the front yard, and then Dewey is smart. Dewey sees the cops and just like, cheese it, the feds.
He beats it with the only piece of evidence that exonerates Tim the
house
Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dewey comes back after Tim Allen spends like half an hour in the police car and is like, yeah, here's the key. They said we could borrow their Christmas tree. And so, of course, the cops who come are, of course, Jake and Cheech because they are the only cops in Chicago.
Yeah, they're the only two police officers employed by the state of Illinois, I'm willing to bet.
Yeah, I imagine
Thanks,
there
Obama.
are no other cops. Wait, I thought this was George Bush's fault.
No, this would have been like right around the time Barack Obama was like a representative or a senator from
state
Illinois.
Right.
From Illinois.
That's exactly right. It was in 2004.
So thanks, Obama.
This is like some Illuminati shit. We better just stop the podcast now.
Pump the brakes and back it up.
We're gonna disappear tomorrow.
So then they get the tree inside and
it's a disaster.
Yeah, and Jamie Lee Curtis is flipping the fuck out like, these are my ornaments, and it's just like, bitch, be cool.
These aren't my ornaments. No shit.
Right.
Also, one of the ornaments they have are like giant paper cutouts of like Christmas light bulbs. It's like, why don't you just have Christmas lights?
Yeah, they're like they're cab air fresheners shaped like Christmas lights.
Yeah,
and the other ornaments are
all
like strings of Lifesaver candies
and then
like
and
about
like
30,
paper chains
and like 30 or 40 teddy bears dressed in Chicago Cubs uniforms.
It's literally a Christmas tree designed by a 4-year-old.
Basically, yeah.
So, they have the tree, and then they get all the neighbors to start chipping in with everything, and then she goes and buys a bunch of booze. Like, she buys, 30 bottles of Baileys.
Oh my god. Well, she had already apparently bought, a fucking case of Pinot Noir, so there's, a case of wine. Then she buys a bunch of, fucking liquor, and apparently a bunch of champagne, too, because they were drinking... they were drinking that at the end.
And then when she's buying liquor, she meets Marty, who is, Austin Pendleton, is that his name?
Yeah, that's him.
The public defender from My Cousin Vinny, and he's just like, oh hey, how you doing? How's Blair? Nobody knows this guy, but this guy totally knows everyone else.
Right, and he's just kind of sort of creeping on Jill Taylor.
He's like, I haven't seen Blair since I last watched her in the shower through my binoculars.
Right.
Ugh,
also, I'd like to point out how yellow his teeth were and how white his hair was. It was really, really jarring.
It's like a negative Jake Busey.
Yeah.
You see him and you think, does he own the candy store down the street or something? He's
pretty
this creepy old man with a weird job that nobody knows about.
Yeah,
Candy man.
He's just like Mr. Carruthers, the amusement park owner or something, So eventually they get Blair calls and says, I'm in Atlanta. We got good wind though. Our plane will be in 3 hours early somehow.
I've got good wind.
They said
Was she super gassy?
Well, she literally says that they have a good tailwind, so the plane's gonna be early.
Tim Taylor says he's like, that must be a good headwind or some bullshit because they show up in Atlanta early and they're gonna get into town early. So when she and her boyfriend arrive at the airport,
Cheech and Jake Busey to pick her up with signs. Yeah. One says Blair, the other one says Enrique, R-E-E-K-Y.
Because
those ethnic names, man. We can't get that shit.
I'm not sure, but I think maybe Cheech would know how to spell Enrique.
You would assume so.
Maybe Jake Busey is really
Cheech, why did you agree to be in a scene with that joke?
So they pick up this girl and her boyfriend, who presumably has only been in America fleetingly, and they put him in a police car, a police cruiser, to bring them to this Christmas party. But the Christmas party's not quite ready yet. The whole town is in their house.
Well, they put him in the back of a police car because they were trying to show him Christmas in America, and he's brown.
So the entire time, Cheech Marin is on the radio with Dewey. Dewey is Officer Frohmeyer,
which has to be illegal.
Yeah, that Dewey has to be broadcasting some pirate radio signal.
That has to be an FCC violation, and the cops are just
a fucking ham radio.
And Cheech is just like, well, if I don't see it.
So yeah, they start driving home, and then they manage to blow out the entire neighborhood's power by plugging in too many Christmas lights. The old pothead kid who looks like Dana Carvey.
Yeah,
he always has a beer in his hand.
He sticks his finger in an outlet and just basically blows himself up.
Right.
I think what he actually does is he literally licks the plug and then tries to plug it in to an already overfull outlet.
Plug set up fucking National Lampoons too. They're trying to harken to a Christmas movie that people love,
or A Christmas Story for that matter, because A Christmas Story does that too.
Yeah.
So now there's a new problem. The house and the neighborhood has no power, and they're still trying to set up Christmas. Right. So they radio to Cheech and tell him to just drive her around the block real slowly.
Right.
And then Jake Busey's like, "Who are you talking to on the radio, Cheech?" And Cheech is like, it's the precinct. They told us to look for crimes."
Yes.
It's Sergeant Spike."
So they get out and they just like wander down a side street. They're like, yeah, let's just go down here, look at this door, and say, yeah, that's a good. He's like, He's like, Jake Busey, we're stalling for time, Jake Busey. And he's like, we'll just go down here and look at this and come back. It'll waste 5 minutes. And they manage to catch a burglar while they're down there.
I don't even know what he's stealing.
It looks like he's stealing an air conditioner.
It looks like he had like a stereo receiver, but he threw it on the ground.
Yeah, it looks like a typewriter. And
we all saw different things.
It was a washing machine.
Maybe you see like what you want the most.
You see what you want to see in Christmas with the Kranks. This movie's a Rorschach test for shitty people.
They'll look up and say, decorate us, and I'll look down and say, oh no, I'm falling off the roof.
And I would just like to say that I was just thinking about this now. So they catch this guy and cuff him and presumably stick him in the back of the cruiser with the fucking kids who were...
Hey, Enrique, welcome to America.
Yeah.
Meet a real-life burglar.
Well, I mean, you don't see that part, though. You never see him get stuffed in with them, but all of a sudden...
They just smash cut straight to like, hey, we're here.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
but he's sitting in the back of the cruiser, so one presumes that they just fucking shoved him back there with those kids.
So they get back to the neighborhood, and the Con Ed guy fixes the power by Fonzieing, and he hits it with a wrench, and it works again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even, like, exaggerating.
Yeah.
He
does what he's supposed to, and it doesn't work.
So he hits it with a wrench, and it works.
Yeah.
No, he hits it with a mallet. It wasn't even a wrench. It was like a fucking mallet.
Okay, yeah. So then they get in the neighborhood, and they like literally leave the criminal in the back of the police car with the window open, a crack, like he's a dog at the store or something.
He's gonna freeze to death.
Then Dewey like was walking by because Dewey's outside for some reason, and the
what
guys.
The fuck is doing? What the fuck is he doing outside? It's a Christmas party.
He's patrolling.
I guess.
So the criminal's like, Dewey, if you let me out, I'll swear on my kids' life because I totally have kids that I'll just like get some food because I haven't eaten in a week.
I'm super hungry because I haven't eaten in a week.
Yeah,
right.
I was trying to steal an air conditioner for my kids to eat.
Because that like sturdy fucking dude. I was gonna feed him some Freon so I didn't have to deal with him anymore.
And he looks just clean enough that you're not sure if they're making a joke or if they're if he's like serious.
Yeah, and so Dewey lets him out and Dewey uncuffs him because Dewey can totally please issue handcuffs.
Well, he had a key, so
he probably jumped into the police car and the cruiser and
right because they left the key in there with the criminal.
Well, why doesn't Dewey just get the shotgun while he's in there then?
Presumably because it's too heavy.
He's gonna shoot his eye out.
So Dewey lets this dude into the Christmas party.
Nobody notices, especially not the police.
Nobody notices, not even the Kranks.
Everyone's getting hammered right now.
Yeah, because fucking what's-her-face bought all of the booze in Chicago.
She bought like the entire liquor store.
Yeah, and then Santa Marty comes in. Santa, spoiler alert. He comes in and he somehow has the ham that she's going crazy about, and like nobody really knows Tim Allen's like, oh, thanks, a ham. Throws over his shoulder.
Yeah.
As much as the ham is a big fucking deal to Jamie Lee Curtis, you think she would like know about it or something.
And then it's just like sitting on the counter.
And then just a mystery character shows up with another one.
Yeah,
like,
and then
thanks. That's right.
Yeah, and then Marty is just kind of like being everyone's kind of vague friend. Like everyone's just like, oh yeah, it's Marty. How do we know Marty? Yeah, we totally do. But I don't remember
Marty.
How.
And nobody wants to be impolite.
Right.
Yeah, and then Marty starts going on in Spanish with Enrique.
Yeah,
but not Cheech.
They start chatting it up, and then they like sing a Christmas song in Spanish.
Yeah,
and then Dan Aykroyd just brings his accordion from home.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they're having like a Zydeco Christmas.
Yeah.
Which like out of nowhere.
The Dan Aykroyd accordion thing kind of bugs me because like Dan Aykroyd's kind of known for being the nutty, nerdy kind of guy in any movie or just any real life scenario.
Yeah.
But it had to be an accordion.
Yeah, I think that was Dan Aykroyd's like, my character has an accordion now because I brought it from home.
Maybe everyone's just being super batty because they were all getting fucked up on Crystal Skull vodka.
Probably.
Yeah. Who knows? What's
see the Christmas
shit.
spirit one way or the other.
I mean, there's really no instrument that's not Christmassy, so I guess an accordion works. But it's Dan Aykroyd, so I have to assume that he's just playing an accordion because Dan Aykroyd does that shit.
Right.
Yeah. So then Dewey, what happens next? Dewey
discovers
the criminal.
Doing criminal things in the Kranks' bedroom.
Because the police sure as hell don't.
Well, and apparently Dewey's just like fucking wandering into their bedroom also. Like, why did he go in there?
Well, Christmas has no allure for Dewey.
So he's just gonna check out their rooms, see if he can find any like
Dewey is a
porn or
Buddhist.
something.
Dewey is a master in all things Zen. He believes that the universe is
wrong and terrible.
He
believes the worst of the universe, so he has to check up on the burglar, and that's when he discovers the burglar pulling
The laziest heist ever.
He steals a jewelry box and then like jumps out the window.
Yeah,
Right.
he could have like just left out the front door and stolen everything from all of the other neighbors because none of them are home.
Right. And instead,
Yeah.
he draws attention to himself by like going out the
Yeah, and
window
then-
onto the roof of the garage.
And then
getting stuff.
and then Tim Allen goes outside and sees him the burglar fall off the roof because people fall off the roof in this movie. And then the umbrella Santa, who it turns out is Marty, like just totally old man Marley's him with an umbrella.
Yeah, beats the fuck out of him with an umbrella.
Yeah, dude, just fucking clowns that bitch.
And by the way, Marty just shows up in a Santa costume.
Yeah,
Like he came
just-
to the party dressed as old man Marty,
like old crazy dude with his flannel.
with his
and...
flannel and his like bow tie and his shitty plaid coat.
Yeah,
And then he does it like Superman, and holy shit, there's a Santa costume under here. There's a Santa beard under my face.
I just like to imagine that he's like a crazy like buff Santa underneath. So he just like pulls his stuff off, and there's like bulging muscles.
He's actually Santa with muscle.
Yeah. He's like hunky Santa.
So yeah, and Marty's like, oh, I got to work on Christmas Eve because I'm Santa, and like it's totally a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm the real Santa. And he gets into Volkswagen, and I said, if this Volkswagen flies, I'm fucking throwing something. And what do you know? The last scene in the movie is the Volkswagen fucking flying
But
with
we're not-
reindeer.
With reindeer.
We're not there yet.
We're not
though.
there yet. No.
But
So
we're
then
so close.
We're very close.
So
So Tim Allen's outside.
Tim Allen is outside, and he looks over and sees about the only neighbors who didn't show up to the party are Emmett Walsh and Dead
And they're
Wife.
just like sitting perfectly framed in their window and at their kitchen table.
Because we assume because they hate the Kranks that
Right,
much.
because they're just old people and they're just so fucking sad because they won't come to a party. Because everyone
it's-
goes to
'cause,
parties,
yeah.
right?
If you don't go to a party, I guess you're an old person.
Yes.
You must be an old
I
person.
guess you're a sad
Yes,
old fuck.
yeah, so Tim Allen brings them a ham just for the sake of bringing them something because apparently Blair's not going to lose her shit if this ham isn't there anymore.
Yeah, she's not
Well-
into the ham anymore.
There was another.
Yes.
Remember, someone else brought a ham.
Yeah, they
so
had like
there's
a
more than one
regular
ham.
ass spiral cut ham, and they still have this canned ham for some reason.
No,
so.
another neighbor brought in a canned ham.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those people that when he first like looks out the front door and sees them perfectly through their window, and these people come in, you don't see their heads.
Oh,
They have a
They were
canned ham.
carrying a
Oh,
fucking
okay.
canned ham with
So
them.
Thanks,
it's,
Andy Daly.
it's like it's like at the end of It's a Wonderful Life when everyone brings money to George Bailey. Everyone's bringing canned hams to Tim Taylor.
Exactly. He gets 8,000 canned hams.
Clarence, I want to live, but I ate too much ham.
I died from dehydration from all the salt.
To my neighbor Tim, the hammiest man in town.
I got gout.
So he takes the ham over and is like, hey, I got you guys a ham for Merry Christmas. And they're basically like, yeah, we're Jewish and she's dying. We don't eat ham.
And he makes a ham-handed apology.
Yeah, he's like, it's like, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Tim Allen ham-handedly walks over and like the neighbor's like, oh, I don't eat pork and she's dying, so she's not going to eat.
No, he says she doesn't eat meat, but also she's
Yeah,
dying.
and they're like, well, take the ham anyway. It's not real
And-
meat anyway.
And then
That's what he says.
Yeah, he's like, it's gelatin and fat. Fuck it.
And then the most ham-fisted thing in the movie happens. Because he leaves, and then he stops and looks at his family, and they're having the nice family Christmas that he tried so hard
Right.
not to have.
And he just stands in the middle of the street for like 5 minutes, and I
The
just
movie should have
wish...
ended.
The movie could have ended with Tim Allen being the most like depressed human being on the
Right,
planet.
or he could have
Remember,
like gotten...
Clarence, where's the bridge? You're not getting wings tonight. Sorry.
He could have gotten like run over by a fucking car,
Yeah, or the criminal could have like gotten out of the cop car, just beat him to death in the streets.
stole the shotgun, and just fucking blew his guts out.
But instead, he turns around and goes back to the Walsh family house. I don't know what their names are.
The Kranks?
No,
The old
the
people.
old dudes.
Okay.
The old people with the
Old
Persian
yeah.
cat.
And says, I want you to have these cruise tickets. I know she's dying, and I know it's going to be tough on her.
This is gonna be your fucking last Christmas.
I know. I want her to die in Nassau. Okay. But he actually does like the one nice thing in the whole movie, and actually gives away his cruise to people who actually need
Here's
it.
the problem. This movie and this novel, for that matter, are post 2001, post September 2001.
Yes.
Like, and he's just like, this has your name on it. Oh, I'll take care of it. Tim Allen says.
Right.
How?
Yeah.
Like, you just need to show up with a fake ID.
Yeah, it's like here's my passport. You might want to color your eyebrows a little bit. Wear these colored
You might
contacts.
want to like staple up your fucking jowls that are hanging down because you are
Literally
about
Mama
20
June from Honey Boo Boo.
You're about 25 years older than I am, and I'm like 50. So
unless he decides to like drive them to the airport and explain to the TSA agent like personally what the problem is, which he doesn't say he's going to do.
Yeah, this reminds me of another Tim Allen movie. Speaking of which, Big Trouble, which is based on a Dave Barry book, where they show up to the airport and they're just like, "Yeah, we're the Smith family. Here's some money. Let us through," and it works.
Yeah, and that movie like was written pre-2001 when you could just walk up to the final gate and like basically almost get on the plane.
Yeah.
And
I remember that. You could go to the fucking terminal and watch the planes take off.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Nope.
This is a different world we're living in now. This is a world where you can't just take someone's tickets. What?
A different world with Denise Huxtable?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I thought you said a different world with a different vegetable.
This is a world where you can't just like give away personalized plane tickets.
No, I mean that shit's got your
tickets.
name on it. They're gonna look at that dude's ID and be like, "You're a goddamn terrorist because this is not your name."
Is there a bomb hidden in that fat sir?
He's got a bomb in his girdle.
Emmett Walsh. I guess the M stands for might be a terrorist.
Might be a terrorist, Emmett Walsh. Well, you know, Roger Ebert has a rule that he had a rule that he liked to apply to movies, and it was that any movie that featured Emmett Walsh or Harry Dean Stanton couldn't be, entirely bad. And with the caveat that Wild Wild West completely shattered that rule beyond any sane metric, I think this one does it too. Because there's really nothing redeeming about Christmas with the Kranks.
It is a terrible goddamn movie.
Remind me who Harry Dean Stanton is, because I'm just thinking of Richard Dean Anderson, and that's not the same guy.
Harry Dean Stanton is...
Is he the magician off the Night Court?
No. He's like the dad in 16 Candles. He's the old... There's like the black dude and then the tiny dude in Alien.
Okay.
He's the tiny dude.
The black dude and the tiny dude.
Yaphet Kotto and Harry Dean Stanton. But yeah, Christmas with the Kranks ends... Nobody has learned anything. The meaning of Christmas has basically just passed everybody by. And I have to imagine that all these people are going to still hate each other on Christmas, on Boxing Day.
Yeah, there's a priest who shows up a couple times in the movie. He's at the party playing a tambourine, and the entire time he's just like, shouldn't I be leading a midnight mass right now?
That priest is a creep, though.
He is the most confused person I've ever seen.
Yeah. I also have to say that Jamie Lee Curtis's boobs were basically another character in this movie.
I'm glad you said it and not genre.
It's okay. I mean, you guys can say it if you want. I wouldn't care.
I mean,
but
it's like she was in Dead or Alive 2.
the jiggle physics are... I don't want to
go
there.
Yeah, they just fucking cranked that slider all the way up. And first of all, he at one point at the beginning of the movie when they're going to go on the cruise, they're like, okay, well, we're going to go to the tanning parlor.
Where Snooki's mom works.
Yeah, and... her mom at like age 16 and talk to this super rude counter girl, and he gets like a Speedo for himself and a fucking string bikini for her. She's like a 50-year-old woman wearing a fucking bathing suit made for a 16-year-old.
Yeah, it's not that she like is really out of shape. She's just like a middle-aged person body, but it's like...
she's just aged. That shit doesn't... Gravity happens.
Yeah, like True Lies is like 10 years old at this point, and you can tell.
Yeah, and so they go to the fucking tanning parlor. She gets in the booth and like fucking as some dude like walks in and creeps on her.
Some dude is just like, Hoyven Glaven, it's a lady.
Whoa, I thought this was unoccupied, but apparently not.
Yeah, and so she like fucking spazzes out and like cuts her head open on the tanning booth somehow. And then walks, because it's in a mall, she walks out to the desk and like the whole mall is walking by and gaping at her. And all of a sudden the priest comes up and it's just like, there's like a fucking camera shot of like just her fucking cleavage. Where
and then
they're
it cuts
like,
back to the priest and he's just like
staring at her boobs. And then there's a scene later.
Forgive me for I have sinned.
Exactly. And later in the movie, she gets really excited about Blair calling, and she's like running through the house, and her tits are like flopping like super hard. It's like she wasn't wearing a bra at all. I'm sorry, I was just like, that's gonna hurt.
I don't really have any comment there.
It's okay, I understand. I'm the only one that can really safely comment on this.
So, according to this movie, the meaning of Christmas is spend $6,000 and do the exact same thing you did last year because God help you if you don't. Except God doesn't exist because Like this is a movie. This is the movie that tries to beat you over the head with the true meaning of Christmas, but manages to avoid
The actual true meaning of Christmas.
all religious context.
Well, apparently that no one got any presents for Christmas in that family because fucking took their present
Yeah, 'cause
money
they
and
blew all the money on
a
On
trip
a ham.
and a ham
a cruise and a ham.
and a ham cruise. I would like to go on a ham cruise.
Ugh.
Is that just gonna be like a cruise ship full of pigs?
Is this
like
a cruise
one
ship where the
just-
only other person on it is Andy Dick?
So yeah, it was a terrible movie. There was,
Bacon in the Bahamas. Sorry.
So
there was nothing good about it.
The movie's message is basically just it's better off if you just do what we tell you to do. Conform, go sheeple.
Yeah,
Everyone's counting on you to have their Christmas for them.
yeah,
Basically, 'cause
exactly.
Everyone's counting on the Kranks to like have the big Christmas Eve Christmas party,
and
and without them, literally the whole town just goes to shit.
Yeah, like in the realistic world, Dan Aykroyd would be like, "Oh, go on your cruise. It's my turn to take over the Christmas party."
I've been waiting for this for 10 years. But no, instead, the Kranks become social pariahs because they want to boycott Christmas. They're photographed in their bathing suits and put in the newspaper.
That's when he's
Yeah,
super liable.
and
that's right.
the story is that they're boycotting Christmas, not
And it's
oh my
like-
god they like expose themselves in public.
it's the entire front page of the goddamn
Yeah,
newspaper too.
there's a very on the nose, hit you over the head with a hammer scene of Jamie Lee Curtis reading The Grinch to a bunch of children in the hospital. In which point Tim Allen is also getting Botox for a
and-
joke scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then Tim Allen shows up like dressed like Don Knotts from Miami Vice. Not Don Knotts. Like Don Johnson.
he shows
From
up
Miami
acting like Barney
Vice.
Fife.
Barney and Crockett.
Yes.
Nip
Yeah.
Christmas in the bud.
He comes
Gotta
looking
citizens
like
arrest on these drug dealers.
he shows up looking like Don Johnson with
Nip
his,
it. What?
his fucking casual ass white Miami suit.
The white suit and the blue
Turtleneck.
like the blue
like a
turtleneck.
fucking like a white suit with no like an open blazer suit
Botoxed to hell
and with a fucking awful ass tan.
and just like spitting pineapple chunks
Yes,
everywhere.
because apparently Botox makes it so that you can't chew your food
Yeah,
properly. It
he
just
closes
dribbles out
his
your
mouth
mouth.
at times, but not when he's trying to chew pineapple.
It just dribbles everywhere.
But anyway, the point I was trying to make was, so she's reading The Grinch, like it's some kind of like, you get it? She's the Grinch. It's like, no, The Grinch was about how you don't need all of this dumb commercial bullshit for Christmas. Christmas is about being together with people you care about.
But Christmas with the Kranks is instead about being forced to spend Christmas with people who you have turned into your mortal enemies.
Christmas with the Kranks is about how you can totally buy friendship.
And it's apparently incredibly easy once you just stop being an asshole about it.
I think the most disappointing part of this is that I was looking at Amazon reviews earlier. They are largely like positive reviews. There was one star where a person went into a lot of detail about
but if
why
you,
it was
if
terrible.
You, if you
but
want to trust the tomato meter for anything, this movie has like 5%.
Everyone kind of agrees this is terrible, and you can tell that this is a terrible Christmas movie because do you see it on TV at Christmas time?
God, no.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Jesus.
Coming up next on TNT, 72 straight hours of Christmas with the Kranks.
Oh God,
Oh.
I would kill myself.
I would too.
So is there anything left to say about this pile of shit?
There is one thing I will sort of excuse the whole not having the right names on the tickets thing, and here's why. Because the book was written pre 9/11. It came out post 9/11,
Right.
but it
Like
was
a
still
month,
written.
yeah.
It was still written in a world where you could just get on a plane with any name.
Yeah.
Under any fucking name you want.
And apparently nobody bothered to fact check that 3 years later when they made the movie.
Great.
Yeah, and like Chris Columbus read this book. Chris Columbus read this book in an advance copy and was like, "I'm gonna make this into a movie."
This is my next movie. Harry Potter's not gonna be my gravy train forever.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, this is the movie he made after he made Harry Potter.
That
Yeah,
is
he wrote this, and it was the last movie he's written.
that's disappointing.
Yeah, he hasn't written. He produced shitloads of things, but this is the last movie he wrote.
Maybe
Oh, wow.
he fucking saw a sign and was just like, fuck this shit, this is over.
Well, the sign was in a negative balance because this movie somehow made fucking money.
Oh my god. I don't know how.
It barely made money.
That's terrible.
Well, I guess it's good that it made money because, like we said, Andy Daly and Matt Walsh got a little paycheck. So
Yeah.
Matt Walsh has literally one line as a random neighbor.
Dan Aykroyd got to buy some more conspiracy theory shit, some UFO stuff.
So, not a complete lost cause, but pretty much a lost cause.
Yeah.
So you know how like Kevin Smith really has like a Jay and Silent Bob's secret stash.
Like
store
an actual store.
Yeah, like that's like a joke from the movies that turned into a real thing.
Yeah.
Does Dan Aykroyd really have Raise a Cult books from Ghostbusters 2?
Probably. If he hasn't written Tobin's Spirit Guide by now, I don't think he ever will.
I hope so.
Speaking of Christmas movies, the weird thing is Christmas Vacation does not take place at all on Christmas. It ends on Christmas Eve.
This is true.
Yeah.
Are we limiting ourselves to shitty movies for this, or are we going to watch good ones like
We might
Christmas
have.
Vacation or maybe Bad Santa or something?
Well, what I want us to do is to basically put as many names of Christmas movies in a big pot as we can, and just randomly pull out names. So hey, maybe next week we'll do Christmas
2 weeks.
Vacation.
Let's not do this ever too often because we'll want to murder ourselves in 3 years instead of 6.
Well, okay, next episode then. God.
Yes. We have to draw it out.
Yeah, because if we did this every week, we would actually kill
Yeah.
ourselves.
And this inaugural episode is pretty much the worst birthday present ever.
That's right. It's your birthday.
It is.
We got you a shitty podcast for your birthday.
Happy birthday to me.
I didn't get
Aw.
I didn't get a gift receipt, so you're stuck with it.
God damn it.
You can't take it back.
So,
Shit.
speaking of shitty Christmas movies, did that It's a Wonderful Life sequel with Zazu or Zuza or
Zazu.
Zuzu.
Zuzu or
Zuzu.
the bird?
Zazu's the bird from the Lion King.
Yeah,
Yes.
she was in the one. Did that never happened, right?
Yeah, they shit canned that.
Okay, good. So we don't have to watch that.
They announced it, and the whole world shouted no at the same time, and they said, "Oh, well, I guess we're not doing that."
Oh, Jesus.
But there is a Home Alone 5. Don't worry about that.
What
There is a Home Alone 5. There's a Christmas Vacation 2. There's
Santa Claus 7. Tim Allen, and Chris Columbus are going to be very frequent contributors to this podcast.
regular
Yeah.
fixtures.
I would watch It's a Wonderful Life with Pazuzu, though.
Yeah, Pazuzu's pedals.
Yes. That's my band name.
Oh yeah. But you know what? I think that's gonna do it for this episode of Christmas Creeps.
Yeah.
So if you like what you heard, send us some feedback. We're gonna set up some emails and some Twitters and podcasts
And a
and
Friendster
feeds and all that crap.
LinkedIn.
Send us a Yelp review.
All the official channels.
All the official shit. No, let us know if you like what you heard, and if you have a suggestion for a shitty Christmas movie you want us to watch, send it our way. We will definitely take it into consideration. Netflix and Hulu are chock full of just
Yeah.
so we're not going to be running out of material anytime soon. But if there's anything you want to hear us hate, hey, let us know.
Or if you want to be nice and tell us we're going to watch, Home Alone 1.
Well,
That'd be all right.
that'd be okay.
Yeah.
But if our listeners are anything like us, they're gluttons for punishment. So
Yeah.
Maybe we'll just watch the scene of Home Alone that has John Candy in it, and that's it.
All right.
this was the worst Christmas ever.
Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas.